Hey everybody, it's Sierra,
It's Ben.
and welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs in a true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries. So I am laser focused on unsolved
It's because
mysteries.
you're hyped up on pie. While you are eating pie, I'm going to give us some shout outs to our new locations that we have. Boynton, Virginia. Just Maryland in general.
Whole state.
Whole state, Fort Worth, Texas.
Whole city.
New City, New York. Sounds like a made-up place. New City, New York. Columbus, Ohio. Are you good over there?
It's not the pie, it's the water.
Okay, I don't know where this place is, but it just says Vute.
I'm ready for it. Keep going.
VAU is
Yep,
what?
let's spell it now.
VAU VERT. Guard.
Okay.
How
Got
do
it.
you pronounce that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Vute? That can't be right.
Let me see it. Hold on,
Herman, Utah. And one of our favorite places, Coos Bay, Oregon.
Valvert?
Valvert?
Valvert.
Yeah. Guard?
Yeah, guard. I don't know what the guard is.
I don't know where that's at either. So, welcome. Those were the new places in the last week we've been downloaded at. So, we're excited to have some new locations to shout out. And then we want to remind you real quick that we are a small independent podcast. And so one way that you can support us is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on anywhere you get your streaming services, including YouTube. And if you're like, hey, that was a fun way to support my friends at the Unsolved Couple, I'd like to do more, then you can by joining our Instagram and our Facebook and our TikTok and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And then, because good things come in threes.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do.
All right.
You can recommend us to a friend. Give us a
Review.
shout out on social media. If you've got a podcast group that you're a part of on like Facebook or something like that, pop a recommendation over to those folks. They're already listening to true crime. Tell a coworker. It's like chainmail. If you do that for 10 people, 10 good things will happen to you, but those 10 people need to go tell
Do you
10
remember
more
those
people.
stupid things you used to get all the time, like to text messages or emails?
Yeah.
Oh, I hated those things.
Chainmail was a wild thing.
I never believed in it. I
Well-
never did it ever. I never participated.
Yeah, me neither. I wasn't in.
Yes, I don't believe you. You totally did. You 100% hook, line, and sinker were into those things.
It would stress me out. I would get to the point where I'd start to recognize in the subject line, so I wouldn't open them because I'm like, if I didn't open it, I didn't open up that.
If you didn't read it,
If I didn't read it, I didn't
exist.
bring that karma into my life. Okay, well, we've got 4 stories today. We are recapping season 2, episode 7 of Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm going to get us started with a story that takes place right before Christmas, December 22nd, 1981. 3 days before Christmas, 19-year-old Rhonda Hinson attended her first office Christmas party. She had recently graduated from high school in North Carolina and started a job as a clerical worker for a local steel company. At around midnight, she and her 2 friends left the party. Side research: her 2 friends did not work there with her. That was unclear to me. She actually had attended that party, and I believe one might have worked there, but I think another one came with her. And she was actually originally supposed to stay the night with one of those friends because they lived a lot closer to the location of the party.
But she did.
Yeah. So they headed home around midnight. She drops her friends off at their houses. So at approximately 12:30, she begins the 10-mile drive back to her home, where she still lived with her parents, Bobby and Judy. Now, before we get into this too far, I'm going to give you guys a disclosure. This story that is told on Unsolved Mysteries barely scratches the surface.
Oh,
this
you got a deep dive, huh?
This could easily have been an entire episode on itself, if not a multi-part episode on the months and weeks leading up to her, we're going to find out, eventual murder, and then in the last 20 years, the different things that have happened since then.
So this could be a documentary.
This easily could be a documentary, and
a true crime.
So I'm gonna, in the show notes, I'm gonna plug. There's a Facebook group dedicated to trying to like bring some of this information to light. There are several I mean, when I tell you that this goes much deeper and farther than Unsolved Mysteries had the ability to tell the story in 15 minutes, there's a ton out there. But since we recap Unsolved Mysteries, I want to recap it, but I also want to give some extra context when possible to try to help kind of shed some more light on the story as we talk about it. So that's my disclosure at the end of this. If you guys feel so inclined, there's a ton of out there that you can go look and do some deeper stuff on this.
What year was this that happened? I was eating my pie when
you were eating your pie.
When you were starting out.
1981.
That's right. Okay. I'm back in. I'm here for it.
Okay. So 1 a.m., Judy, the mother, wakes up from sound sleep with a strange gut premonition. She believed that Rhonda had been hurt or possibly killed in a car accident. Her father also awoke and decided to turn on his police scanner to see if any accidents had been reported over the scanner. They heard that a homicide had occurred and that the victim was Rhonda.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's the way you find out.
Yeah, this was heartbreaking.
I know.
It's hard because, and I don't have to go deep into this, I struggled greatly after having kids with like waking up in the night, especially when they were babies, that something terrible had happened or was wrong, because you hear every horror story in the world when you bring babies home. And so it just was constantly there. So to then hear this story of this mother waking up and having that, and then it to just not turn out to be anything, and then to find out over the police scanner. And I don't know, I'm not in law enforcement. I've listened to a few scanners before. They're not edited for the victim's family members. They are trying to get information out. So it's very like informational only. And I imagine it's not, does that make sense? It's not like censored.
So did you do your research? Because in the episode, they don't say that the parents found out it was her, but they just found out that there was a murder.
Yeah, I found out in my research that like they found that it was such a small town and a community that registration. The car that she was driving was hers. She'd actually just purchased it. It was like in her name and everything. Okay. So Rhonda's car was discovered on Mineral Springs Road, just a half mile from her home. Ugh. The driver's side door was open, and just a few feet away, she had found deceased, lying on her back with her arms deliberately placed at her side. She had been killed by a single bullet fired from a high-powered rifle. It had traveled through the trunk and her seat and had penetrated her heart. So try to give a visual for everyone that's listening to this. Legitimately, in the reenactment, they showed a car that had like a bullet hole above like the taillight, like through the trunk. So this bullet went through the entire length of the internal of the car.
Through the trunk, the back seat, her seat, and hit her heart.
Yes. I mean,
it's a 1 in a million shot.
1 in a million. That's terrifying. It had traveled, through the trunk. Police believed at first that her murder was possibly a random act of violence, until an investigation revealed that she may have actually known her killer. So we go back a little ways. Rhonda was popular in high school. She was an expert tennis player with lots of friends. However, several weeks after graduation, she had begun to behave erratically, strangely, and different than her normal personality. Although she was normally comfortable driving alone, she began to ask her dad to accompany her into trips into town. During one, she said that she had to tell him something, but that it was bad. And he asked her to explain further, and she said that she would think about it. However, she never explained to him what was bothering her. And the dad's on Unsolved Mysteries kind of telling this story. And we don't have children that are 18, 19 years old now. I even know, just being a parent of teenagers, like, there's a time to push your kids for answers, and then there's a time that you just want them to know that you're a safe, comfortable place to like have to talk with you about. I'm sure this father like regrets the fact that he never like pushed harder, but I mean,
what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Your daughter says that she has something to tell you, but that it like is really hard to talk about, or he might be upset. And I think he just did what probably most parents would do in that situation, is try to like love and support your child until they feel ready to have that conversation with you. And unfortunately, her life ended before that conversation could happen. Judy also recalled, so Judy's the mom, having a strange conversation with her daughter. Rhonda asked her if it was ever okay to be in a relationship with a married man. Judy said it never was, and that it usually only ended with people getting hurt. She was not sure why Rhonda asked this question, and she said she didn't even know if she was asking for herself or even for potentially for a friend. In the weeks prior to Rhonda's murder, Bobby and Judy noticed that she had started suffering from insomnia. She had begun getting up in the middle of the night to take showers, telling her mother that she felt dirty. This right here is a telltale sign of someone who has been either abused sexually or exploited in some way, shape, or form.
But I thought about this, like, we all know that now because of history and that. This information, these warning signs, were probably not as well known and understood in 1981. So as parents, they were maybe confused, but obviously now we know so much more.
Yeah,
and information is so much easier to gather, as that we would
hey, we need to have a conversation.
We need to have a conversation. Yeah. So
police also uncovered evidence that suggested that Rhonda was being stalked by somebody on the night of her death. Between 12:15 and 12:30, a witness drove under the Interstate 40 bridge on Mineral Springs Road. She observed a blue GMC Chevrolet facing in a northern direction. Inside was two white males. It was parked next to the same off-ramp that Rhonda would later use to exit. It was spotted just 30 minutes before she was shot and 200 yards from where her body was found. I'm going to go off on a limb here and say that has nothing to do with it. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
30 minutes to be pulled off on an interstate that someone may or may not.
I think they're just trying to look at anything, right? You're trying
especially because
to find
she changed her plan. She was supposed to stay the night at a friend's house.
Yeah, you're just trying to find any type of clue, anything that might lead you somewhere.
Yeah, and maybe these two men could have seen something else, but
yeah, but trying to say that it was related, you have no way.
Later that evening, another witness traveling down the same road passed a similar blue vehicle with a single man behind the wheel. It was speeding away from the murder site. As he continued down the road, he saw Rhonda at the same spot where her body was found. He saw her slumped over the steering wheel and an unidentified man standing at the front driver's side. He was unable to get a close look at him and assumed that they were likely a drunk couple and drove on. But one of the favorite techniques of the 80s when someone saw something but maybe didn't pay a lot of attention would be to what, Ben?
Oh, I think you have to hypnotize them. You got to.
You got to.
It brings out alien stories. It brings out all kinds of things.
All kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I will say what is wild to me is that a lot of these stories that we talk about hypnosis, this was like led by law enforcement.
Yeah.
I would love to know the certification you need to get.
Yeah, but you're always trying to find new ways to help your case, move your case along, get clues, all that. So, and I think at this time, I don't know when hypnosis came around or
when it entered or exited the building.
Yeah, and I think it was clearly
I put this in the same realm of people
it.
trying, even law enforcement getting so desperate for answers that they even allow psychics to like come and look at things and stuff like that. Like they are grasping at any straw that they can.
I think they look at it as a way of, hey, if this just produces a clue for us to start following that will get us real hard evidence.
Yeah.
I think they're willing to do that.
So under hypnosis, he describes that there was a blue Chevy 70s model with a messed up front end and gray primer. He described the man next to Rhonda as 5'10" to 6 foot with a medium build and dark hair. He also recalled seeing another one parked down the road from Rhonda's, but it was black or a dark blue Trans Am. Some believe that it was driven by the killer. Several latent prints were found on Rhonda's driver's side door. Investigators believed that they also would belong to her killer. However, they have not been identified. And that's kind of where Unsolved Mystery leaves us with not a lot. We have a very random...
It was a short story.
A medium build, dark-haired, average-sized man.
But again, based off of a hypnosis guy who thinks he saw something, but can't give you any type of real concrete evidence besides hypnosis. So, and again, that Chevelle that they said that was driving off, there's zero ties to that.
I think I said Chevy. Sorry, Chevelle. Yeah, I don't even know what a Chevelle is. I don't think they make those anymore.
Okay. And
do they? No.
So, it's just, I felt bad that you're listening to this, and it is clear they need something because they don't have anything.
Okay. So.
All right, update.
According to Judy, foreign DNA was recovered from Rhonda's sweatshirt. However, even with that and the latent fingerprints, this is still unsolved. It has not been matched to a suspect. Oh, it has never been matched to a suspect. Recently, for a little while, there was some speculation that Rhonda's ex-boyfriend and a friend may have been involved in her murder. However, that theory has not been confirmed. Her family and investigators are still searching for answers. In December 2021, investigators announced that new leads were being investigated and that there was optimism that it can be solved despite the amount of time that has passed. As of right now, there is a reward for any information leading to the arrest and conviction in this murder, and it exceeds at this point over $20,000. Anyone with information about Rhonda's murder is asked to call the Burke County Sheriff's Office at 828-438-5506. Okay. That is the information as Unsolved Mysteries.
That's the official
Yes.
update.
As I went through, there is a lot leading up to Rhonda's murder that was not discussed and talked about, including a lot of behavior from an ex-boyfriend, several family members that she had confided into regarding actually things about him that were making her very uncomfortable. And so I won't go into a ton of that just because I did a few hours of research on this and I don't have the time or the ability to cover
but
in depth of everything, but there's a lot more to it. And so, like I said, I will post everything on there. There's a couple of the family to this day. The Facebook page is extremely active. Like being posted within the last several days, there are posts about thoughts, theories, people putting together evidence and timelines and all kinds of things to try to find this girl's whoever did this. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? What were your first initial thoughts kind of on this when you?
Well, let me just clarify. I didn't really do a lot of research. I kind of Googled it, saw that it was still completely unsolved.
Yeah.
And I kind of left it at that. Because it's kind of the same thing. With some of these unsolved ones, you can go down rabbit holes. And then at the end of the day, when you look at everything that's out there, you realize, oh, this is just all speculation.
Yeah.
There is zero. If there really was good evidence, it would have led to something. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, like, when you start diving deep into that, you end up like, oh, this. But really, at the end of the day, it's just, well, this person said this. There's a lot of speculation. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm going off from that one on the boys on the tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, I went after rabbit hole. And then when I really just kind of took a step back, I was like, oh man, there's just so much hearsay.
Yeah.
So much. But even that. So this one was weird. The thing that I can't quite understand is who kills someone that way.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, like, the only real murder we know where someone targeted someone in a moving vehicle, at least that I know, and my knowledge is the DC sniper, right?
You know what? Oddly enough, there was some speculation that this was one of his early crimes.
So and the reason I'm saying is for someone to decide that I want to take this person out.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to murder someone, because to point a gun and shoot at someone, you clearly have made the decision you want to kill that person.
Yeah.
So to decide that you want to do that, and to do it to shoot at them in a moving vehicle. Mm-hmm. She's on a road. It's not that she was at a stoplight, stop sign, in her driveway. You know, plenty of people are shot in their car in their driveway or in a parking lot. She's on a road, and you decide, like, that is the way, and you take one shot. It's a lucky shot. And again, you shoot through the car. Who shoots through a car? You shoot through the window.
We've covered, if you're going to shoot through a car, typically you're going to see people shoot through the window, right? Because you have a clear shot.
For a bullet to go through a trunk and two seats and still hit that person, that bullet has so much opportunity to move, and it's original. So I raised
are you trying to say, is there a possibility that this was some sort of like road rage incident, or
maybe? I have no idea. What I'm saying is, that's the biggest thing that stumps me is, who does this? Mm-hmm. Who decides to kill a 19-year-old girl by shooting her in a moving vehicle?
Well, we don't know if the vehicle was moving or not. She could have been pulled over.
Yeah, you're right. She could have been.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Again, if she's pulled over, why shoot through the vehicle?
Yeah.
All the way. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I agree.
And I think it clearly, it just raises more questions than answers.
Yeah. And
what's your thoughts?
My biggest thoughts were, there was a change in this woman's behavior. And I guess without going into too much information, or whatever it would be, was it possible that she was in a relationship with an older married man at work who she was supposed to meet up with that evening after, maybe that's what something prompted this girl at 19 years old to change her plans to have a sleepover with her friends. Yep. Why?
Yeah, but she's going home. She's half a mile from her house.
And so was that because she was going to pull off the side of the road and meet a lover? I don't know. These are all just things. She was doing something, or there were things in her life that were making her uncomfortable, whether it was a person of power putting her in a situation that she did not agree with but didn't have the ability to speak up. Was she being assaulted in other ways? So I don't know. Yeah. Is it possible that two things can be true? Could it have been potentially she pulled over because she had something with her car or X, Y, or Z, and someone saw an opportunity to shoot something, not thinking that it was going to kill somebody but scare them? I don't know. And this completely unrelated nighttime insomnia, signs of sexual assault being completely unrelated. Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility, right? Both things can be true.
Technically, everything is a possibility right
So,
now. So
I don't know. I really hope that it seems as if the families are still working very hard to keep her name and story in the present so that they can find answers.
Well, here's the thing. We've covered multiple stories now where they've literally been solved in the last few years.
Yeah.
So I hope the same thing too. I hope it is a tragedy. She's 19 years old. Crazy. Yeah. I really hope that it does
I do too.
come to an end. And they don't ever lose, hopefully. Clearly they haven't lost hope. Clearly it's still possible. Yeah. We've seen it. We talked about one the other day, that one in Seattle.
Yeah.
That was very recent.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what you got for us?
Okay. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. We got scammers, but
yes,
a certain kind of scammers. We got fortune tellers.
Fortune tellers.
Let me ask you, have you ever been to a fortune teller?
No.
No palm readers, nothing.
Nothing.
I'm just wondering how this is still a thing to this day.
Yeah.
Have we not established as a society that this is all hocus pocus and it's all a scam and a fraud?
I don't know. Okay. Would you ever go to a fortune teller
Absolutely
or
not.
A palm reader? Why?
No.
Just because you instantly you're like, you're just doing this to take advantage of me?
Yeah, it's 100%. It's all a scam. They are clearly just taking advantage of people. Mm-hmm. Vulnerable people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of the time it's vulnerable people.
So, no, it's such a scam. And it fathoms to me that they still are around.
Yeah, and
today.
I've never
But it's the same with like those get cash now places. Like, how are these places still open? But clearly people still go to or just those auto loan places where you go and you sign over the title of your car for $500
do that, people.
For a 500% interest rate or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, okay, so I'll say I've never been to one, but because I don't like messing with that kind of stuff. I don't like to do again. If I never open the door for karma, it doesn't have to.
You think it's bad juju?
It's bad juju.
You think you're messing with the wrong side.
You're messing with just stuff I don't need to mess with. If we were meant to know our future, we would know it.
Let me just tell you, there's no one on this planet that can tell you your future, but no one.
Yeah.
Only God knows.
Only God knows.
All right.
Okay.
We got some fortune tellers in Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria. Isn't there Peoria, Arizona?
Peoria?
Yeah.
Peoria, Illinois. All right. This is in August of 1987. The people that come forward, that we're going to get told two people's stories.
Okay.
But they don't want to be known. Their faces are darkened out, and we just get a nickname.
Nickname. First
lady's name is Karen.
Do you think that's a pseudonym? That's a fake name?
Yeah, I think they just made it up.
Yeah.
100%.
Not knowing what Karen was going to be someday.
Well, how could you know, right? So Karen was suffering from mental and physical injuries. I guess she'd been in a pretty bad car accident several years before. Her life was not going well. So someone told her, you should go see this lady. Her name is Ann Coricelli. All right. And she thought, sure, why not? It's only $10 for a half hour.
That's your first red flag.
Well, that's how people get. Here's the thing. This lady's not making money off $10 every half hour. She's making money because people come in.
Yeah, because that's $20.
She tags them and realizes, oh, I can milk this lady. Mm-hmm. So she goes in, and of course we get the reenactment. You know, she's like, I sense that you're struggling with things. I sense you've had a tragedy in your life. You know how it is. They tell you the generalized statement, and they're waiting for those reactions from that person where they know, oh, I hit the right thing. What hooked Karen is that she said, I sense that you've been, had suicidal thoughts. And she said she never told anyone that. And so clearly she must be right. So what does Ann tell her? Oh my goodness. This is just nuts. She tells her, Ann proceeds to tell Karen that someone has put a curse on her.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where we went, people.
We went from 0 to 60
real quick.
Yeah.
And Karen buys this hook, line, and sinker. And she, we get this. People acting crazy, and I will help you. I'll help you get rid of this, And of course, she tells, like, in her area, she's got all these statues of Jesus and all this stuff, So, of course.
So she looks like she's a spiritual,
of course,
faithful person.
So, All right.
Do you believe in curses?
Absolutely not.
Ben doesn't believe in anything.
I do. I believe in a lot of things, but that is ridiculous to believe that other people can put curses on other people.
Voodoo dolls?
No. Oh my gosh. No.
I believe all of it.
No. It's ridiculous.
Just stick with the good juju.
Yeah. No. Oh my gosh. Don't start with me.
I hope we have a voodoo doll coming in at some point in Unsolved Mysteries.
Well, we did. Remember that one, the lady that was out in the garage and doing all that? She had a voodoo doll of her husband.
Oh, yeah. You are correct. Yeah. We did.
All right. So she tells Karen she's got to get on this strict regimen. And of course, she told her, this is the best part. They always tell these people, don't tell anyone.
If
someone tells you to do things and then says, don't tell anyone,
yeah,
go the other way. All right. She's got to take baths with oils, bless doors. She has to bless people with holy water, but not tell them.
Can you imagine?
I don't know. So then she tells Karen, listen, the money in your life, that's what's cursed you.
That's the biggest problem.
It's of the devil. The devil has controlled you by your money in your life. Mm-hmm. So she tells her one day to meet her with $4,000.
Did you do adjusted for inflation?
No, but at that point, at 87, we've already figured it's almost 3 times at that point.
Yeah.
So you're talking like $12,000.
That's a chunk of change.
I would say it's probably like around 11, right? So it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
She tells her to bring $4,000 wrapped in a white handkerchief. Mm-hmm. And they're going to throw it off a bridge.
Sure they are.
So in the reenactment, she brings it wrapped in a white handkerchief, hands it to Ann Coricelli. Mm-hmm. And Ann ties it to a rock. Mm-hmm. Okay. But then Karen has to kneel down facing her car and is praying.
It's like a magician
that the
saying,
curse will be
I'm going to make this disappear, but you got to close your eyes.
Yes, exactly. And so Ann throws the money off the bridge. Mm-hmm. And she's like, is it gone? It's gone. It's gone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's gone. It's in Ann's pocket. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's what happens to Karen. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we get told about Joan. And Joan goes in. She's 69 years old. Okay. Again, Joan in parentheses. It's not a real name. She doesn't want people to know who she is.
Fair. These women, I feel terrible for. We're laughing and having some fun with this because
here's the.
It's easy. We're on the outside, but these women were both in situations that they were in a vulnerable spot and they were taken advantage of. And yes, I am sure on the other side of this, it's embarrassing, which I think is one of the reasons why the same thing as the love scammers and all of that, these go unreported.
When I'm laughing, I am not laughing at these people and what happened to them. They are victims, and what happened to them is terrible. And we're all have the ability to be duped.
Yes.
And it's always easy looking from the outside in to see how people are
But
duped.
I think you brought up a good point that the reason they're doing these 30-minute sessions, because I bet you're getting people in and out there, and they might have several days where there's no quote-unquote
They
mark.
probably have weeks.
That no one is worth their time to, like, lean into it. But they've been doing this long enough, and they're skilled enough at it that they know to look for certain telltale indications that they can double down on these marks that they come in.
Well, but yeah, I mean, we're going to hear about Joan.
Yeah.
Joan, if she's the only one they found in 1 year, it was worth it.
Yeah.
One person out of probably, maybe they see 1,000.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Exactly.
Joan lost so much money.
Yeah, continue.
So Joan, her husband had just died 2 years prior. She was having a hard time.
Yeah.
But so they tell us that her husband had died a couple years earlier and left her quite a bit of money that she was quite comfortable. But so she was still struggling in life, hard time. Again, same thing. People tell her, go see this Ann Corcelli. And so she goes, she describes the same thing. She goes in, it's $10 for 30 minutes. She sees all these altars and candles and statues of Jesus. So she's buying in. So Anne starts laying out the cards, and she tells her, I see evil in these cards. And she says, I'm going to need to get my grandmother help. Enter Lena Marie Wilson. She's actually not the grandmother of Anne. I was going to say
not the grandmother, but that
she's
sounds
actually the
good,
mother.
right?
Yeah, she's the mother of Ann Corcelli, but they played these roles to dupe people. I'm going to guess she played as a grandmother because this lady's 69. They're trying to find a way to
because
connect.
If she's older, has more wisdom and whatever, they're playing characters.
So Lena Marie Wilson walks in, and she tells her, I'm going to help you. I'm going to look at these cards. Mm-hmm. She does see evil in the cards. And guess what she sees? Another curse.
Yeah. There's another curse.
She says that the girlfriend of her first husband, 'cause she was married twice.
Yeah.
Second husband passed away a couple years earlier. But the girlfriend of her first husband has put a curse on her. And she even gives her the name of that first girlfriend. Mm-hmm. We don't hear it, but that's what. And she's been living with this curse pretty much her whole adult life. Her
entire adult life.
So this is the best part.
So this is a really deep-rooted curse.
She tells her to come back with a 1, a 5, a 10, and a $20 bill wrapped in a white handkerchief, and to bring a sheet.
Wait, what did you call it?
Handkerchief.
Handkerchief?
Yeah, chief. If you actually look at it, it is spelled chief.
Yeah, but this is the English language where we don't always say things phonetically.
Well, that's how I say it.
No, it's handkerchief.
Handkerchief. So she wraps this money in a handkerchief, and she tells her to bring a white sheet. Okay? They show us in the reenactment. She ties, let me just try to explain this to you people.
This reenactment.
It's so good. Okay, so they're sitting in a chair across from each other.
I'm just imagining someone trying to do this to you.
Oh, this would not go well. It would not go well. Okay? They're sitting directly facing each other, almost like knees touching.
Knees are touching.
I'm trying to explain this to people because it's great.
I should pull it and post it on our Instagram.
They tie the sheet around their neck. And then it's draped across, and the other end of the sheet is tied to the other person. So in between the people, it is completely covered by a sheet. Mm-hmm. Okay? She takes the money, Lena, and rips the money, and then wraps it back up in a white handkerchief. Okay? She rips it in half. And she then tells her, I'm going to move this money across your body. And if it comes back together, that means that we can get rid of this curse. If it doesn't, then you're
How
cursed
is
forever.
this related to this curse?
I don't know, Sierra. I have no idea. So she then takes the money under the sheet and is rubbing it around. I'm telling you right now, if someone was rubbing me under a sheet, holy smokes.
I'd have been
that would have ended.
Once someone tried to tie it around my neck.
I would have been this would have never happened. But yeah, if someone said, we're going to tie this sheet and be connected to each other, I said, yeah, out of your dang minds.
Yeah.
So she's rubbing this money
all over this woman's body.
And then she pulls it out. And not only has it miraculously gone back together, but there's extra money in it.
No.
Yes, we know what happened. We all know what happened.
I understand that. But the money was not, it's not like, oh, everything was replaced. It was just another random amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joan is so flabbergasted. She falls to her knees and Lena tells her, pray to God, thank God. And then what does she say? Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone. We can't let people know that if you rub money on your body, it multiplies.
So she's telling her she's got to do all these things. Another thing that she told her, to fill a shoebox with dirt and put it on the ground in her garage and leave it there for 3 days. Then Lena Marie comes to her house, pours hot water on it and stirs it with this weird stick, and it becomes blood. And she tells her that's the blood of the devil.
Again.
I know.
I thought we fixed the curse with the money rub.
But she tells her the devil is there. It's in her life. And that she needed, I wrote this down. She needed money to give her more power. Lena Marie needed more money from Joan because that money would give Lena more power to get rid of the devil.
But I thought the money was cursed.
But it was giving her power over the devil because the devil was powerful from money. Yeah.
She needs more money than the devil?
I guess. So over the next year and a half.
I know, this poor woman. 18 months of this. And not to mention, not even the financial scam. This woman is living her life, doing all of these rituals, also truly, deeply believing that the devil is present in her life and that she lives with a curse.
Yep. So over the next year and a half, she gives Lena $81,000 in cash. Also gives her almost all of her jewelry that's worth thousands of dollars and bought her a new Cadillac.
Yeah.
She tells us that in all, well, that was up to that point. She tells her there's one last thing that she has to do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She has to burn $40,000. So she's given her all this money. Then to finally end the curse in her life. So she meets her at her house. There's a burn bucket in the back. She tells her, take the $40,000 and what does she need to wrap it in?
A white handkerchief.
A white handkerchief. And as she hands it to Lena, and then what does she do? She turns around and bends down and is praying. And Lena throws the money in to the burn bucket and burns it. Okay, we know that didn't happen. So Joan tells us all in all, she ended up pretty much giving up $150,000.
Her entire life savings. Everything that her husband had left to her is gone now.
Yeah. So those are the two stories.
She drained this woman's accounts in a year and a half.
Yeah, just awful. I feel terrible for her because she admits, she's interviewed, she brainwashed me. She completely brainwashed me. She had me hook, line, and sinker.
And she was living in a state of fear and anxiety, right? Which also is going to make anyone more vulnerable.
Yeah. And it is just, it's awful.
And you're telling somebody that there is something seriously and terrifyingly wrong with them. And there's no one that can help them but them. They hold all of the power.
Yeah.
If there is anyone out there that is living in any situation where one person has the power to be everything you need and more, they are the savior, they are the financial, they are everything, they are the only answer.
Get out right now.
You are being brainwashed or scammed or manipulated, because that's even in the worst case medical situations. There are multiple people qualified to help you.
Get out now.
Yeah, exactly. So
anyway, so that's where Unsolved Mysteries tells us, hey, listen, we're looking for these two people. They've said they have up to like 18 people that have come forward.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people just here in that Illinois area. And, hey, they're looking. They did say they put out warrants for their arrest. 4 days later, they were in North Kansas City, Missouri. Missouri. And two police officers noticed a car in a parking lot of a hotel. And I will say, they see him. Do you see the way that lady looked? Something ain't right.
yeah.
And sure enough, one of the people in the car was Lena Marie Wilson. She was arrested. They had $250,000 of stolen jewelry in their possession. So they book her. She jumps bail 6 days later.
This woman is not give
So
it up.
she's
without
on
a
the
fight.
wind.
Yeah.
And then Unsolved Mysteries just drops in, hey, we're also looking for this guy, Joe Marks. They tell us nothing about him.
Yeah, we know nothing.
But he's related to them in some way. And
Involved
he was
in this.
He was
yeah.
part of their scam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they say, these are the people we're looking for. If you see them, let us know. All right, you ready for your update?
Update.
All right, Lena was captured 10 years later.
10 years.
Yeah, it took 10 years. They finally got her. She served a few years.
Yeah.
And is out. They did catch Joe, too. He was captured. He did 6 years for being involved in these scams.
Yeah.
But Ann Corcelli, never captured, never found. But now the police weren't looking for her after a while because statute of limitations ran out. So eventually
she got away with it.
She got away with it. And really, I mean, Lena got away with it too. She went to jail for a few years, but at the end of the day, she took people for
and that's the thing.
thousands of
Did
dollars.
they seize her assets? Did she,
I will say, there's not a lot on this.
There's no more that if she continued to do this, or
and I looked to see, are they still operating? Do people still know? But these kinds of people, they go and just drift off in the distance. And,
they just find another place to do the same thing.
Well, and these types of people, there's no way they use those names anymore.
No.
Not a chance. Mm-mm. Those names are long gone.
Yeah.
They've been probably have used.
And the scam has changed.
15 names.
It's going to be similar, but they'll just change tactics.
They just change.
Yeah.
They evolve.
Do you remember a few years ago about the fortune tellers in Oregon that scammed a guy out of like his entire life savings and his family farm and everything?
No.
They ended up being caught because, and this was, I want to say, where's the outlets by Portland?
Like Wilsonville?
Wilsonville. I think it's out towards that area. It was out towards Wilsonville. Or Woodburn?
Maybe it's Woodburn.
Yeah, Woodburn. I think that's out towards there. But a police officer was driving by this lady's psychic office in town and noticed that the car outside was getting fancier and fancier every couple of months. Like to the point where this lady was driving like, I don't know, a Lamborghini. Something insane. Like in this tiny little town that even the wealthiest people aren't driving that kind of car. And she ended up going, I can't remember if it was a female or a male officer. They went to a convention of other police officers and kind of sharing different things. And she had heard of this new fraud that was going around preying on older people in vulnerable populations through scamming through fortune telling and psychic ability and stuff like that. And this lady had gotten her daughter involved. It was awful. Got this guy's entire...
It's probably these people.
It very well could have been. Yeah, I mean, it could have been. But yeah,
I
this lady found out
saying...
everything. This man had never been married before. And she found out that he, loved women with accents and blonde and X, Y, or Z. So she, molded her daughter into this and then, told him that he was going to meet this girl at the airport or something. And she arranged for, it's awful. Okie dokie. I am actually going to tell you guys about a man named Don Hamilton.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. On June 10th, 1989, 36-year-old Don Hamilton and Donna Johnson Don and Donna, that's not confusing at all,
Don and Donna
were married in Maple Plain, Minnesota. Their happy day was, in a way, a miracle. I want to tell the rest of this story now as if I'm from Minnesota.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Just 20 months earlier, so for everyone that's just shy of 2 years, teams of specialists had been working around the clock to save Don's life. He was in a deep coma. Some of the doctors thought he was already dead.
What year was this?
1989? Well, so I guess...
1989, oh, okay.
What?
1989, okay.
Yeah, that's the day of the wedding.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's where... this is going to take a weird turn, but this is where Unsolved Mysteries starts this story. And actually, you think at some point Donna ties into this story because they started it with the wedding. She doesn't.
No. But it's about Don because he's getting married now.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Put a pin in just this relationship for because I've got some funny thoughts at the end. Okay, according to Dr. Carson, he was not breathing. He did not have an effective heartbeat. He had serious damage to body organs. Statistically, his likelihood of surviving was very low, close to zero, in fact. That night, his mother Marlon stood by his bedside and wiped blood off of him. They told her that it would probably be his last night. He was bleeding from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Gross.
That escalated.
Yep. She felt like wiping the blood off his face was the last thing she could do for her son. How did we get here is the question you might be asking as you're watching this show.
I'm asking this question.
Yeah,
and I watched the show.
I know. But before we get to how we got here, I'm going to just give you one little tidbit that Unsolved Mystery tells us. Dawn's recovery is a shining example that happy endings do occur outside of massage parlors.
Take that back.
No, I can't.
Cut that out.
His story is one of those unexplained events in the field of science and medicine which proves that medical science and simple faith can turn out to be a wondrous and mysterious partner. There you go. Thank you, Robert Stacks, for that quote. All right. How did we get here? Now Unsolved Mysteries is going to tell us. Just before dawn on November 8th, 1987, Dawn, D-O-N, and a group of friends set out to go deer hunting in Menahog. That is definitely not correct.
It sure isn't.
Menahog. Any hoozles, it's about 175.
Do you think if you just try to say it with like a different slang,
I don't know
that
these
it will come out right?
Weird things just look weird sometimes. G-H-G-A.
Don't spell it. Nobody needs to know the spelling. Nobody is hearing you say it. And do you know what they're not doing? They're not saying, I don't think she said that right. Could you spell that for me? This is not a spelling bee.
I 100% guarantee you there are people that want to know how it's spelled so that I 100%. People tune in.
Tune in for the spelling of the words that we get wrong.
People chime in is actually what I meant to say about who appreciates me spelling things when I cannot use my brain to say them out loud. Any hoozles, this is 175 miles north of their hometown, Maple Plain. Don splits off from his friend group and drove an ATV out into a field and parked at the edge of the woods. He walked into the woods to a tree that he had previously scoped out and planned to climb up into and sit up there and wait for daybreak, I'm guessing. With his climbing harness and his straps, he got himself all roped in. And then he leaned over. Don't worry, this is not where it goes off kilter yet. Grabs his gun and pulls it up. Lays it across his lap. He sits back and relaxes onto a branch At some point, he loosened his grip on his gun. He had it balancing on his legs. It shifted enough that it fell off and slid off his legs. It hit the ground and shot him.
Yeah, they in the reenact they say they like hit the ground, hit the buttstock, and it went off.
So that's what I was going to ask you. I thought by dropping a gun, it's not going to go off. You need someone to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I was a little confused by this because you can drop guns, throw them.
You've seen the guns fall pretty far. You've seen guns broken because they've fallen off of things.
Yeah.
And have any of them ever gone off?
No, not that I've ever seen. So I was, but...
This is the story.
But it is the 80s.
And I guess it really...
You know, maybe they weren't made as well back then.
I don't know. Gun safety 101 for me is like, one, that's why you always have your safety on, right? But two, guns are not... Anyways, that's not the point of the story, but I just thought that was a really weird.
It was, but terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So Dawn, at this point, screams.
So he was shot. Did they say he was shot in the head?
No, he was shot in the leg.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And that's where this is going to cause problems. So yeah, at first, you would think, okay, a leg shot clean through.
Yeah, but your artery runs on the inside of your leg.
So he shot very close to that artery. I don't know if because I think if you get that artery really good, you bleed out in several minutes.
Yeah.
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 So he wasn't that badly injured as far as that goes. Yeah, but no head, no chest, no nothing. Okay, so he's lucky in that. But the problem is they're out in the middle of nowhere, so he screams. His buddies aren't even near him, and it's still dark outside. So I don't know if anyone's ever been hunting before, but you spread out over quite a distance. So they hear their buddy yelling, and they're not sure which one of their buddies is yelling, but they hear a gunshot, then they hear screaming. And now it's gone silent. And they're meeting up and looking around. And it takes them, I think they say, close to 25 minutes for them to find their friend. And also, you guys, he's still up in the tree.
Yeah. Strapped in.
Strapped in, yeah. The bullet had severed critical veins in his leg. And he seemed at this point to be completely lifeless. He's literally dangling in the tree. They placed a tourniquet on his leg, put him on an ATV, and took him out of the woods. Another 20 minutes later, he was in an ambulance being rushed to the nearest hospital. A small hospital, mind you. Technically, he was alive, but he had no blood pressure, no pulse, and Dr. Garner recalls that when they started working on him, he was not breathing or moving. He was basically comatose. His heart at this point had stopped pumping blood because there was no blood left in his body to pump. He had lost a total more than half, if possibly 2/3 of his blood in his body. So again,
he should be dead.
Yeah, he should have died at this point. A lot of it had to do with the probably close to an hour it takes him to get seen. He had lost so much of his blood that his body was literally not functioning anymore. Dr. Gardner was afraid through the whole process of working on Don. He knew that it was going to take everything his team could do to pull Don through this. The further along they went, they became afraid in different ways. He says, he's interviewed on this. He says that he was really concerned that they would work so hard and do all of this and they'd be saving a body, but not a brain, which I thought was a really interesting way to look at this. Because I guess I'm not a medical doctor, obviously. I would have never thought of that too, that yeah, you could save and heal the body, but if the brain has completely shut down,
well, there's too much brain damage from no blood, all that.
Yeah. So according to Dr. Gardner, they quickly run out of options for Don in the small hospital, including they even said The surgeon operated and did massive repairs on his leg. They gave him all the blood at the hospital that they had.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And literally it got to the point where there was nothing that they could do anymore at that hospital. So they stabilized. The fact that they were even get him stable enough to transfer to a bigger hospital is remarkable.
Yeah.
So he's taken by helicopter to North Memorial Medical Center in Minneapolis, 200 miles away. There, a team of specialists waited for him. They stabilized his condition, but again, showed no brain activity and no signs of life. So Dr. Bruce is, he did the initial neurological, that's what is the word?
Neuro?
Yeah, neurological. Thank you. Evaluation on Don. He failed the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep. He basically did not have any ability to breathe on his own. He had no response to pain, no basic deep-seated reflex that are very well protected inside our brain. He had to give the family the difficult news that he was brain dead, and he told them it was the same as if Don had been submerged underwater for an hour. He did not believe that Don would recover. However, his mother, Marlon, would not accept it. Don's loved ones and members of his church prayed for him every day. The members were supportive of his family, and from 7 to 11 p.m., his parents were never alone. And they had people around the clock. The church members set up a schedule so that they did not have to be without support at the hospital, including and if Don passed away, that they would have someone there to be with the parents. Don remained in the ICU. Tragically, his body starts to fall apart. First, his kidneys stopped functioning, then his lungs. He even suffered cardiac arrest. Nevertheless, his family talked to him and could hear and believed as if he could hear every word they said. They prayed and searched in vain for a glimmer of response. Doctors offered them the option of taking him off life support. They refused, and despite the overwhelming odds, never gave up. So, at this point, the doctors start to come on and talk to us about kind of how little hope that they had that this was going to happen, that anything was going to change in this condition. And I struggle with this because it's such a hard call to make, right? I can't imagine being in this situation. And you hear these stories of people who work in the medical field, who when people are on life support, it's hard on our bodies, right? And so Don's family and friends never give up. And one day a friend comes in and Don's mom introduces this friend, and because she's speaking to her son like he is alive or awake and can hear. And she asks him a question and he nods his head 3 times. And she asks him another question and he does the same thing, the 3 simple nods. Nod, nod, nod. And this actually is the first sign that over the next 4 days, the doctors they call it like a flower blossoming. They said that over the next 4 days, literally, he recovers significant and fast.
And wakes up.
He starts to wake up. And within 4 weeks of being admitted to this hospital, he walks out of the hospital on crutches. And within several more weeks, he throws the crutches away and goes on to make a full recovery.
And get married to Donna.
Donna. Sorry. Yes. Don and Donna. And okay. Here's your update. Since Unsolved Mysteries comes on and they're just sharing this story.
Miracle.
This is just a miracle.
Is it a
right?
miracle? Or is it modern medicine?
Yeah. And the doctors, I will say, are actually, I was expecting kind of some of the snarky doctor
No.
comments. The doctors here they have no explanation.
Well, and they're happy.
And they say, like, this is nice to kind of counteract the ledger of how many times it doesn't turn out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're excited.
Yeah. So Don and Donna go on to have 2 daughters. And literally the only thing I can find is that he had some minor memory loss and a little bit of discomfort with his injured leg.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I mean,
and from what the problem is his name is super common, so there was
Yeah.
a lot of reports with this name. From what I can see, someone commented on a TikTok video that the guy featured in this story was their grandfather. So he obviously went on to not only become a dad, but to go on and have grandkids.
so he went on and lived a happy, healthy
Yeah.
life. And
But
that's great.
technically, I guess it's unsolved. They do not know how, when, or why he was able to make it through this. He and his family contributed to their faith. They were very devout members of, I believe, a Christian faith of some sort, and they truly believe that this was an act of God. So, there you go.
Seeing that, I can get behind and believe.
What?
That I can believe.
Okay.
And I will
well,
believe.
good to know. We got Ben
Not
on.
palm readers.
Okay. Now, Ben, would you like to tell the story that I tried to steal from you?
Yeah.
I had to cut that whole first part out that I gave, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to see if your research was as good as my research, and I've got all my notes here.
It's not going to be, but just this is a sad story for me.
Yeah, Ben really struggled with this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like this story.
I kind of
Not-
struggled
and, like-
with the way that they told it.
Yeah, it's just when this one,
Yeah,
not a lot gets to my heart, but this one did.
this one did.
This one did.
Okay.
All right, we're introduced to a man named Howard Drummond in Lansing, Michigan. Okay? And in 1985, he was 74 years old, and he rented a room from the YMCA.
I don't think you can do that anymore nowadays. I wonder when you...
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never had to do that, but he rented a room from the YMCA for $49 a week. But I guess you can pay an extra $5 a day for
That seems like a steep price.
It is a steep price. I mean, it's an extra $150.
Yeah, it jumps it up times 3. Like,
So you can pay an extra $5 a day for your own private bathroom, but Howard would not do that.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So we get told a little bit about how Howard goes about his day.
Yeah.
Okay. Howard goes to the same diner every day and buys his breakfast. And he gets fried eggs, bacon, and rye toast for $1.99.
Good deal.
That is a great deal. And he would eat that, and then he would buy 2 more of the same breakfasts and have it put in
Wait, what did you say?
2 more of the same breakfasts.
Breakfasts?
Breakfasts. That's how I want to say it. Here's the thing. It doesn't have to be right, but if that's the way you like to say things, I'm here for it, people. If you got a word like Worcestershire sauce, I mean, I know that's not right, but
I'm not saying it's right or I just think, yeah, because when do you ever use the
breakfasts
plural?
in plural?
Yeah.
I don't think it really has a plural. So I
Exactly.
made up the plural.
But so it just sounded like a made up word.
I did. I made it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Never mind. I won't say the other word I make up. Anyways, so he buys 2 more of the same exact breakfasts, and he puts it in his gym bag that he carries everywhere. This gym bag he carries all over the place. Okay?
Okay, in my side research, I found a comment on something that said that the workers had to keep an eye on him because if they turned around and they didn't keep an eye on him while he was packing up his stuff, he would grab a ton of extra forks, knives, salt, pepper, and ketchup packets and fill up his gym bag with them. I thought that.
I love it.
But here's the thing. This diner becomes important later on. Like, these people genuinely, like, had a great love and respect for this man. They gave him his breakfasts every day. But I just thought I thought that was just a kind of cute little quirk that they were like, you had to keep an eye on Howard because if not, the ketchup packets would disappear. So
we learned he's clearly a little bit of a pack rat.
Pack rat, I think, is a nice way to say hoarder.
Yeah. He had in his little room there in the YMCA. We come to find out later, he has up to 50 empty coffee cans, magazines, rubber bands. They say that he had 80 pairs of white socks.
Okay, I will say that is what is interesting to me is that he was frugal, but then he also owned 80 pairs of socks.
He never threw a pair away, probably.
Yeah.
And he had 8 of them, 8 identical suits.
Mm-hmm. 8 same pair of shoes, 8 identical suits.
He wears a suit
and the exact same hats.
And he has like a fedora hat.
Yeah. He wears every single
outfit
day.
Mm-hmm. Every day. Like then we get interviewed by the man that would get
the rent.
The rent
at
the YMCA. And he said, he's like, Howard was an interesting guy. He would come down and he would pay his rent at the same time every month and in the same way. And he would want the receipt and stapled on the piece of paper in a certain way. And he just was very particular, he says.
Yeah.
But he said, Howard can seem like an oddball. He goes, but if you got to know him, he said he's a very gentle person. That's the word he uses. Appreciative. And he always said thank you to everybody around him. So he would go out, he would get his breakfast, he'd put it in his gym bag, and then he would go about and get his, do his daily activities. And the one activity he did every day was go to the post office.
Yep, got to get the mail checked.
Get his mail, and he subscribed to a bunch of different magazines. And he would get those, like Forbes and different magazines like that. He would get those, and then he would go and talk to the only one postal worker.
Yeah.
And did I write her name down? No, I don't think it. Oh, Frances Dodge.
Yep.
He'd go and talk to her, and he'd have like a shopping list of stuff he was looking for, because I guess he didn't want to go shopping himself. They didn't explain why.
I would say no one ever explains the dynamic of this relationship, but somehow this postal worker
knew things that he needed, and she would get it for him.
Yeah.
And he would pay her.
Yeah, it's not that she was doing this as...
No, he would give her the money to kind of go shopping. And then after his post office, he would go back to his room, and he would hang out in his room by himself. No one ever went in.
He did not allow people into his room.
Anyone into
no
his
visitors,
room.
No friends, no nothing.
Well, on January 28th, 1989, Howard passes away.
Did you read how they were actually even able to figure out how he'd passed away?
Yeah, I read that he hadn't come out.
The diner.
They hadn't seen him.
Yeah.
And they actually found him, and he'd had a stroke or a heart attack. He actually hadn't died there in his room.
Yeah, the day he did not come in, they called and said, Howard didn't come in today to get his breakfasts, and were concerned. So that's what I said. These people really kept an eye out. Because I read in other reports, due to his lack of hygiene, he didn't have access, at least seemed to, didn't wash his clothing. He didn't have a bathroom. Like, he had a smell and a way about him and a very rigid thing that a lot of people avoided him naturally. And so the fact that these people were kind and respectful to him to the point of even being aware that something must be wrong if he is not here, and alerted then, the YMCA was able to go up, get into his room. Unfortunately, he passed away in the hospital, but he didn't just get abandoned in his room.
No, I did read that they found him and he was transported to the hospital and he kind of got better, but then he had more complications and ended up passing away in the...
Yeah, unfortunately. And Francis was the only person that attended his funeral.
I know.
Yeah.
I was going to, anyways.
Sorry, am I hijacking your story?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, so Paul Rosenbaum was a attorney that was assigned to his case to settle his estate.
Yeah, his probate and stuff like that.
So he goes in, he takes everything out of his room. He said he had to spread it out across the conference table. He said it took... You good there? Yeah,
sorry, I'm getting prepped for our question and TikTok was open on my phone.
Paying attention is what you're saying.
I'm trying to not hijack your story.
You're good. I don't care. You adding more things. I don't, your research is always better than mine. He said it took him 2 weeks to just get through all of his stuff. He said he had crazy things. He had notebooks with hour by hour of news headlines from the news that he was keeping notes.
Yeah, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and say this man had some serious mental health issues.
He had
OCD to the extreme.
Yeah. He had shoelaces galore.
Yeah.
And he said he was obsessed with the royal family and Prince Diana.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, he was into, because I know some people that are really into the and I don't know anything about the royal family. I know nothing. I don't find it fascinating. I'm not intrigued by it. So it was just the last thing I was expecting for them to say that he was into. But yeah, he had like newspaper clippings and every article like ever published about the royal family, especially Princess Diana.
Yeah. So he also finds out, this lawyer finds out, he has at least 11 bank accounts all across the U.S.
Yeah.
And he ends up finding out Mr. Howard has over $250,000.
Yep.
Stashed away.
And he lived on $6 a day.
I added it up. I mean, it's $200 for his room.
Okay.
$6 a day. So he was averaging, about almost $180 in food. He was literally living off of $400 a month.
A month.
And that was, I'm sure he spent a little bit of whatever his shopping list was.
Yeah.
But he literally was living off of. And maybe he subscribed to these things, but yeah, the guy lived extremely frugal. And then he was stashing his money away in all these places. So here's our mystery. They don't really know much about Howard.
Yeah.
And they don't know who the money goes to.
Yeah, what to do with this $250,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, especially back then. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
The only thing that was missing was that gym bag. And they thought that in that gym bag there was rumors that Howard kept his the most important papers of his life or whatever he needed. Really,
we never get any follow up on that.
Well, they did say there was a key with the number 24 on it. And they thought it was to a possible locker, but it was just a general key, and they could never find out.
Again, the bag never comes back up, and the key never gets solved. So don't even worry about it, people.
But so that. Then they just tell us the only thing they can find out about Howard is that he was born in Houston, Texas in 1911. He served in the Army from 1942 to 1945. He worked at a bank in California, but he was fired from the bank for stealing Scotch tape. No joke.
I have a feeling that it wasn't just a little amount of Scotch tape by his other things. And that likely they had probably told him several times. But at this point, I'm guessing that this was a compulsion versus any sort of...
An actual need.
A need. No one... If anyone says they've never taken an office supply from their place of business, they are lying to you.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that Howard abused that, little caveat that people aren't going
I
to
don't
care.
Howard can take whatever Scotch tape he wants. I don't care. But then he was a postal employee, and they found out he'd lived in different YMCAs in like Pasadena, Denver, Dayton, and then where did I say this was? Where did we start this out at? Where was he? Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
So that's where they leave us. If anyone knows anything, let them know. Be ready for your update.
Yep.
Heirs have been found.
Yeah.
He actually had multiple heirs, and I think the judge, multiple people, of course, a lot of people came forward.
Everyone showed up. No one came to Howard's funeral,
Yeah.
but they all wanted access to his money.
Yeah. So it turns out, like, he had some half-sisters.
Yeah, his father had been married before.
Yeah, so I was going to get into that. It turns out he was married in 1911 when he was young. His dad moved him and his mom, he was an only child, to California. And shortly after, up and left. Pieced out. Left.
Yeah. Could also have contributed to some of his...
So him and mom pretty much raised him. He was extremely poor growing up.
Yeah.
And so he didn't know.
I did read that his mom's sister was heir to like $1 million like newspaper. She'd married into it. And so that was something I think that like they talked about in one of the news articles that was also hard for him growing up, is that him and his mom struggled so greatly. And then he kind of saw this other things in his life.
Yeah. Anyways, some multiple heirs were found. A judge ruled and it was split amongst like 3 or 4 of them. And so people got their money and that. But this just it bothered me because here's the thing. This man clearly, he was a certain way. And due to that, it caused probably he had no one to share his life with. And that just...
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets to me.
I
don't like to see people that way. I think we all deserve people to share our life with. And he clearly was a good man, but he had quirks that people just...
He had some mental health issues that I think were easier to... I think back then, if they were left untreated, the natural progression of that becomes isolation and this kind of hermit sort of pack rat. I mean, we all know that character or that person or that persona, right?
Yeah, but the thing is this man still went out and accomplished things in the world. Mm-hmm. He was, after he got fired from that bank in like the 50s or something, he then went and was a postal employee for like 20 years. So he went and was an extremely contributing member of society.
Yeah.
So he clearly was a good man, and he deserves to have people near him, by him, that care about him and there for him at the end. And maybe, I don't know, anyways, I could go on along for this, and I just...
for sure. And it was sad to me that these people, it seemed like very quickly, once they found out this guy was dead, like, came out of the woodworks, multiple family members.
Yeah, and
that bothers me, in the fact that you knew that this half-brother of yours or your cousin or whatever was living some impoverished lifestyle, and whether it was by choice or not, I mean, clearly it was by choice. He had the money. He could have done more with that as far as better living conditions or whatever. But yeah, there's just some kind of ick feeling where you didn't even show up to his funeral, where it was like, oh yeah, that was my brother. Unfortunately, he really struggled with mental health, and we tried multiple times to get him help he needed. And, you know, we checked in on him when we often as we could, and we are sad to see him gone. These people couldn't even show up for that. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is the recapping of Season 2, Episode 7. We will end this week's podcast with another question from one of our listeners. This comes from Claire on Instagram. And she actually has a question for you.
Oh, dear.
Ben, if you could do a podcast on any show, what would it be?
It's an interesting question.
Sorry.
Now, this might come weird coming from a man that's doing a podcast, but I just doing one. I don't know.
Ben would never be in this situation, period, if it wasn't for his wife. Is that what you're saying? Like with having doing a podcast?
Yeah, but I think what she said, what is something I would enjoy want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've said this before. Like the only real podcast I listen to a little bit of news, not a lot. I can't take too much news in my life. It's too wild.
It's too sad.
Yeah, I like history podcasts a lot. I like to listen to that.
What show would you want to do a podcast on?
I would probably want to just be like a guest on a baseball podcast.
That wasn't the question. The question was not, would you be a guest on something?
No, 100%. I would not want to run a podcast, do another podcast, be a host on any other thing. Because here's the thing. I am an expert in zero things. So I don't have anything to bring to the table for the world. So I would just want to be a guest and BS.
You just want to be able to sit around with some people that like sports.
The Nateland podcast.
Okay.
Because there you talk about nothing.
It's like
you don't have to be
Seinfeld.
You don't have to be an expert.
But in podcast form, yeah.
You don't have to be an expert in anything. You just have to be an expert in BS.
Yeah.
And you just talk about nothing. Have a regular conversation.
Okay.
Throw out your opinion every once in a while, even though no one cares.
I'm going to say a show that I would love to do, and I think you're actually going to be like, you would also find it fun.
All right. So what podcast?
I could, okay, I'm already doing one, right?
One. But if this was not one.
Just if this wasn't a thing or just for fun, I would love to do a podcast on the TV show Love is Blind. Because the content of that show is so good.
Well, there's a lot.
You and I watched that show together. It's the only reality show that either of us watch. Yeah, I guess Next Level Chef is about as close as we're going to get to it.
It's embarrassing to admit, but
this is Ben's dirty little secret
a small secret.
This was a thing that he got into by just randomly as I'm watching it, him be in the background doing the dishes or something, and before he realized it, he was sucked into it.
Yeah, I get into it just because it's wild.
Wild.
It is wild people's approach to the world and other people.
But what I found interesting, when we went to Nashville one day, we just laid in bed and DoorDashed food.
Delicious food.
Such good food. And watched an insane amount of Love is Blind. Because we don't get to do that in our day-to-day lives.
No, we have children.
Children and
jobs.
Busy work schedules and constant running around. And it took us, though, every episode, you and I kept pausing it. And then we would have conversations calling out the BS or the ridiculousness or the manipulation or the outfits or the bro behavior or whatever it is. And so I actually, while we were doing that, I was like, this has got all of the makings for talk, because it's just fun to talk about. And maybe no one even cares about Love is Blind, so that's why I wouldn't make it into a podcast. But it is a show that you and I actually love to talk about because it's so bonkers.
You want it, or people are watching, you're watching, and you're just commentating on it.
Yes,
in the
that's
background.
what I would want to do. I'd almost want to
do
do a watch along, have it playing on the screen.
Be the commentator.
And me pausing it and being we're going to talk about what just happened because it's bananas.
Yeah.
But this season of Love is Blind, they spent way too much time in the pods.
Well, we've never even finished it.
Yeah, well, again, we've been back from Nashville for like a couple of weeks, and when have we had time to sit around and watch junk TV?
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, guys,
sorry,
that's as good as an answer you're going to get from Ben is he wants to
it's probably not a very good answer.
He wants to be a co-host on a baseball or co-host on a different podcast.
I don't want to be a host. I just want to be a special
Ben wants to be the special guest.
For one episode. And then I could just go off and live my life.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Peace.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you guys again next week when Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.